Hey everybody. Hello fellow Lumineers. I guess that probably would have been the best way to start this video. Oh my gosh, the moment has finally came. Not at Gen Con because I was not going to participate in the line craziness there, but rather instead I ordered my Lorcana stuff from our favorite local game store, Frontline Games. And I was able to pick up my items on Friday this past week and get looking through things, get playing with these cards. And you guys, if you are a Disney fan and you are a trading card game fan, like this is a win-win. I am blown away. And perhaps even more excitedly, Bill likes this game too. So I can't even tell you how excited I am about this. So let's take a look at a little bit. I will probably do another video and kind of show you what I'm doing with decks and that kind of stuff to get a little more in depth with things. But I did just want to talk to you guys and share in my excitement about the game with you. So this is one of the booster boxes for the game. I did manage to get 2, which I was completely through the moon about. And I'll tell you what, on the first box that I cracked, I did get an enchanted card that is the highest level of rarity in the card. So I was super pumped. And I almost peaked too soon, if you will, because then I was so desperately hoping that I would find one in my other box too. No such luck, but let me tell you what, I am completely blown away by the art on these cards, and I am obsessed with the gameplay. Like, it is so much fun right now. But I kind of wanted to just show you what all I picked up. So I got one of each of the starter decks, right? So here is the third one, and they are very fun. And I have to say, for intro packs, like, they play very well and give you a really good flavor for the mechanics and things that you can do in the game. Lorcana, and it's funny because similarly with Fantasy Flight's Star Wars Unlimited game that is going to be coming out next year, both of those games, unlike, say, Magic or Pokemon and those sort of things, you do not build a land or like a resource base into your deck for how you pay for your items and creatures and characters that you want to play. Rather, you use cards that you already have built into your deck. So you build a minimum 60 card deck for Lorcana. And when you need to put down resources to be able to play things, you literally choose cards from your hand and put them face down. You ink them. That is the mechanic that you use in Lorcana, because this is all the world of Disney and art, and this is the world that they have us creating in this. I love that it is so flavorful like that it is so true to what it is trying to do, that it works so well. But you have to make hard decisions. Boy, you'll be holding your cards in your hand and go, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna have to play some of these for resources, for ink, and I won't be able to play them the rest of the game. And it's tough because the first couple of games that we've played, you sit there, you have this moment when you start your game that doesn't happen quickly, because like, you really have to sit and take it in and go, like, it hurts to pick cards to bury. It really does. It's like, you wouldn't have these cards in your deck if you didn't want to be able to play them, but you got to make tough choices in order to play anything at all. So pretty awesome mechanic. The colors in Lorcana, there is, I think, 6. Let's see if I can list them off the top of my head here. So there is amethyst, there is amber, there is emerald, ruby, sapphire, and steel. So yes, there are six colors. Now, one thing I have to say I find interesting, and it'll be interesting to see again, and I participate in, like, I don't even know how many, way too many Disney Lorcana Facebook groups now. So I'm following all these different chat threads all over the place, and everybody is super hyped about this game. And it's funny because all the people that play Magic that are now coming over into this game, like, everybody's on like the what's next? Can we make it do this? When is it? Can it do this? And people keep going, can you slow down? Like, this game is in its infancy. Like, it just came to us. Let's play it the way they want us to play it for now before we try to break the game and make it do other things. So that said, as far as deck construction goes, you can build a monocolored deck, so a single color, or you can choose 2 colors and put your 60 card deck together with only cards from the 2 colors that you choose. I don't know how I feel about that yet. It's a little tough, and again, I find myself all the time, I have to like really make an intentional effort to shut off Magic Brain, because I get so caught up in the theming and these characters that you know and love and that you're so passionate about, and you're like, why can't I make it? I'll give you a really good example. For right now, so we've been playing just with these 3 starter decks for now. So today's project for me has been, I want to try to make 2 decks myself and see what I come up with. And then we'll make a determination whether we even want to keep these 3 base decks together, or I may dismantle them to use the pieces and parts for other decks. Obviously, an easy way, especially for somebody that maybe is newer to a trading card game, these starter decks are the best way to be able to jump into a universe, because it is out of the box, ready for you to be able to play. But you then also have a phenomenal base deck that if you buy a box, or if you just get a handful of boosters, even if you sub out a handful of cards in there, you've now already made that deck a little more customized and will have a little more interesting interactions with it. So it is such a good, not intimidating way to get people over into the world of building your own decks and kind of being creative and taking some liberties with things like that. So I think that is a very, very cool thing. But so today I am working on building a couple of decks, and the first one I'm starting with, I'm trying to build a Neverland deck. So I'm doing Pirates and Tinkerbell. So we're really going heavy on the Peter Pan theme. However, I'm already finding I don't have enough cards to exclusively do only those pieces right now, and this will be the brilliant thing over time as more of these sets come out and you get additional cards built into it, that you will eventually have enough character variety available to you that you might be able to pull that off and be so true to the theme that you don't have anything else in there that like is a little one-off or a little weird. You know, like for example, I pulled a copy of Iago because he's a parrot, and all pirates have a parrot, right? They just do. So in my mind, thematically, that works. I'm going to run a copy of Steamboat Willie Mickey in there because it's nautical and he's on a ship. I think that's fair, right? So this is kind of what I'm going to have to do with it for now to get it to work out to be what I want it to be. But the potential is through the roof with this. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. All right. I figured I would show you just a couple of cool card things that I came upon in these boxes. And I do find this interesting. So they did an art piece. Let me switch over to my close cam for you with little Taylor Mickey. And these are in that extra card slot in your pack that potentially could be a throwaway, if you will. At least to date, at this level of the game, there are no token cards that you have to deal with in Lorcana. So in that back pack of the slot, I'm going to refer to Magic a lot just because that's the other game that I primarily play. These art cards kind of sat in that extra slot back there. So I did end up with a whole bunch of these, but what I do think is pretty cool, and I already have plans for this, I'm going to frame at least one of these right now just to hang up here in the game room and have. I'm probably going to put another one together, and I may not have it exactly in a frame for now, but I'm going to have it and hold it off to the side with the intention of the next time we get to a convention where they have some artists there, if I can connect with the artist behind this Mickey Taylor and get a signature on it, that is going to be such a nice collector piece for me. So like I said, I'm going to do 2 of these for myself right now, but I have a whole bunch of extra copies of them right now. So I'm already thinking ahead in the nonsensical brain of Dawn that in April in 2024, we are taking a huge family Disney vacation to celebrate my 50th birthday. And I am going to put together the rest of these that I have, and I think I might frame them, and I think I might give them to everybody as a nice little thing. You know, since I have them anyway, and it kind of works really great with what we're doing. It's the world of Dawn. This is the way my brain works. All right, enough of that rambling. Let's talk about some super cool stuff. So, as I mentioned before, I managed to pull a enchanted card in my first box. So I got a holographic copy of Aladdin, and let me take the stack out of here and see if I can get this. Look at how beautiful the foil is on this. I think they 1,000,000% nailed the foil and how to make it look truly special. And so you can tell down on the bottom, this little prismatic symbol is what indicates that a card is an enchanted. And yes, I'm fully aware that I don't have this sleeved right now and super protected, but again, these are for me. I'm actually going to play with this card. And I know that someone probably screamed. I could actually feel the disturbance in the force, but I'm not. The neurotic collector in me, yes, wants to collect all of these. I would love to have one of everything from each set at least, but I'm going to play with them. That's what I have these for. Like, I love Disney. This is where my brain works 99% of the day, and I'm going to enjoy these to the fullest. And so it will be sleeved when it goes into a deck, but right now, while I've been in the process of putting it away, to be fair, I did have it in a page protector in a binder already, and I pulled it out to be able to show you in this video because it's already foil and shiny, and when you put it in a sleeve that is another layer of shine, nobody is going to be able to see anything. So bear with me. I promise I will take care of it, but I am going to play with that card. All right, so wanted to give you an example of some of the other kind of cool things. Boy, these cards are slippery. So this one, you can see the symbol down here. This is a super rare. So rarity wise, and this is Ariel, and I think the art is absolutely amazing on these, and they have just some really, really neat mechanics. You can see that she's got singer on here, and the singing ability, obviously Disney is full of songs, right? And so some of the cards that you'll be able to play in this game are literally songs that have a little bit of a lyric on there. And so depending on who you are and who you're playing a game with, if you're not gonna wanna sing, like for real, some of the lyrics to these songs, then you're doing it wrong. Honestly, you play the game however you wanna play the game, but I can't help myself. And like, if you're gonna sing a song, I will sing a few lyrics to that song. But that singer ability allows you, if your character has that, you can actually exert your character. That is what they call the, not using the word tap, because that's a magic thing. You exert your character or your ink for your resources to be able to pay things to do your action for that turn. And that exertion is what demonstrates that you've used it this turn. But if your character has that sing ability on it, has a singer ability on it, instead of paying the ink cost for whatever song it is that you're going to play, you could exert your character, which means then Ariel would not be available to do to challenge anybody or to quest on her turn, but you could cast that song for free, which is really cool. But I think she is beautiful, and she is she's a foil as well, but not a holographic foil. And so you can tell the difference, that it's not throughout, but it is a really pretty card. Next, I have Moana here for you, and she is a rare. And again, this is funny because, again, going from Magic Brain, yeah, I'm so used to seeing that orange color be mythic, and this is just a middle rare, rare level card. You've got three other levels of increased rarity from there. So there's commons, uncommons, rares, like this card is here. And then there is super rare, which was like that shell, that silver shell that we saw on Ariel's card. Legendary, which is a gold kind of shellish symbol. And then that enchanted, which is that holographic foil card. So pretty awesome, range of the spectrum for these cards for you. But Moana is a really cool card. Just talking a little bit stat-wise for what this means. The number up here in the top corner is the resource cost for her. So it costs 5 inks to be able to bring Moana out onto the board. And she has a challenging statistic, which is AKA attack, but we don't say it like that in Lorcana. If she's going to challenge someone, she will deal 1 damage to that character. And then the shield statistic, hers is 6, is her toughness. And so that is how much it would take to banish Moana, because banish is the term that we use here instead of killing characters. So next up, this was another very cool pull from my box in terms of sought after cards people are looking for, and it's Rockstar Stitch. And Rockstar Stitch, you can see he costs 6 ink, and he is a 3/5, which is pretty awesome. But he has a very cool ability on here, and it is called Shift. And let's talk about that for a second. What's really awesome is that, if you haven't noticed already, all of the artwork on these cards, are characters that we know and love from all of the Disney IP that's available out there. And right now we're just in chapter 1. So we have what we have, and that is it for now. And there's a pretty good variety of a little bit from tons of beloved movies out there right now. But because all of this art is new and unique, there's going to be many, many different versions of these. And so it's not like they're not giving you a movie image of, say, Mickey Mouse, and that is that one. And we can't do that again then, right? Because you've already used that image. This is freelance art, that they are doing for this. And so we can have Stitch in any number of ways in different things. And therefore we can find him in the different colors that are available, for choices in terms of your deck building. So just because this version of Stitch is amber doesn't mean that there won't be another version of Stitch in Ruby or in Emerald or whatever, in any of them along the lines. And so it gives you the flexibility to be able to run multiple copies of these things in your deck. That's another good point. So similarly to some of the other trading card games out there, you can only run the max of 4 copies of one instance of a character in your deck. And that's important because, in theory, you could build a whole Stitch deck if you wanted to, and just run as many versions of Stitch that you have available to you, provided it works as a monocolor or a dual colored deck right now, since that's all the Lorcana rules allow for you. But, this is Rockstar Stitch. Say you have Beach Stitch. I'm totally making that up. That's not a thing. But you can have 4 copies of Rockstar Stitch and then 4 copies of Beach Stitch. And, if there's Hammock Stitch, or whatever, you can have 4 copies of that. And so you can see how you then could have a whole bunch of them. It's not like the character title, the name alone limits you to only being able to have 4. It's 4 copies of that specific card version. But anyway, getting back to this shift ability, which is very cool and very fun. So you'll see here that it says shift 4. So his ink cost up top here is 6, but because he's got this shift 4 mechanic on it, if I already had another version of Stitch out on the board, and it could be this version that's already out on the board, or it could be a cheaper one. It could be one that only cost you 2 to have out on the board to begin with. You could play this Stitch on top of that Stitch for that shift cost instead of the ink cost. So you have a choice. You can either, because you might not have another Stitch out on the board and you might have to pay full price for it, and that's fine. You have that flexibility. But if you already have one out there, you could pay less for it, put this on top of it, so then that other version of Stitch ceases to exist. The only thing that is different with it is that if whatever effect was already going on with that instance of Stitch out on the board would carry over onto this version. So if your one already out on the board already had 1 damage accumulated on it, your new version of Stitch would come in with 1 damage on it already. Or if the old version of Stitch had already exerted this turn because he challenged somebody or he quested for lore, then this version of Stitch would come in exerted on top of it. That's the only caveat to that. But I think it's a really fun way to encourage you to play multiple versions of strength and cost for these character cards, and you can lead to some really interesting gameplay. I've mentioned questing in lore a couple of times, but I guess I didn't explain it, so let me backpedal for a second here. So you see these little diamond shapes down the side of the card here, and Stitch has 3. That is lore. And the ultimate end game in what you are trying to accomplish when you are playing Lorcana is both you and whoever you're playing against. And another point I didn't mention before, it doesn't have to be a single instance of head-to-head. The game is already built to be played multiple player. So you can play with 4 people, which I honestly cannot wait to try, because the only way we played it so far is just Bill and I have played, so we've played head-to-head. And when you've got somebody that has a really tough mechanic, that especially playing at the starter pack level that we're playing, if you don't have the right thing to deal with whatever engine is going on the other side of the board, like, it can be really tough. Where if you had other people playing, we could all kind of approach trying to deal with it together and get some stackable damage on things to get rid of stuff. Because for example, Bill was running the deck with Dr. Facilier in it the other day, and the engine he had going there, it allows you to keep bringing characters. When a character gets banished, instead of going into your discard pile, it comes back to your hand. So I just couldn't get anything accomplished. Like, I would knock out some characters and they just kept coming back, and the deck I was playing against, I just didn't have the right. There was one card in the deck that would have potentially helped, but I had played it earlier in the game. I didn't know that other card was going to come out and be such a problem. So just interesting layers of gaming. But back to what you're trying to accomplish. So rather than trying to destroy your opponent like we do in some other games, right, you are actually questing for lore in Lorcana. And so the ultimate goal is the first player to get to 20 lore. And you do that by questing with your characters. And so coming back onto our character here, not all the characters have the ability to quest for any lore on their cards, only if they have these symbols on there. But so if I had this version of Stitch out on the board and he was upright, his 2 actions available to him would be either to challenge an opponent's card or to quest. And if I was going to quest, I would say I'm going to quest, I exert my card, and then I add 3 to my lore. It is as simple as that. And there are cards that take away lore from your opponents, but it isn't in high quantity. and it's not super often. So I think this is a really fun mechanic in the game because it really makes you be strategic with how you're trying to play, because you can approach this game to three ways basically. You can say, I am gonna get my cards out on the table and I'm gonna quest as fast as humanly possible. And I'm not gonna try exceptionally hard to challenge anybody. And my goal is gonna be to try to get out as many things with a bunch of lore ability on it and quest to try to race up to 20. And when you come in that mindset, you then are forcing your opponent to go, oh man, okay, well now I have to focus on challenging this person because I can't have them questing every 5 seconds for 3 lore like this. They're going to run away with the game. And so you can see how it makes you think. So you can approach it like you're going to go crazy questing, or you're going to say, I'm going to come in and I am just going to challenge. I'm going to make it so hard for my opponent to get their lore. And I'll chip away at my lore as I can. But like my goal is going to be to go in and try to like really be the aggressor and attack. Or you end up somewhere in between. So it really depends on the way you like to play. It depends on the type of deck your opponents are running, with how you have to do it. And so you just really have to watch for the synergies that are going out on the board, because that's going to play a huge impact in what your tactic needs to be while you're playing this game. But anyway, Rockstar Stitch has been a pretty sought after card. People are pretty excited about it. It is another one of those super rare cards. I brought this one out just because I thought he was very cool. And so this is a foil rare of Zeus. And I think he looks pretty cool. The light on the camera here, it's not doing the foil like the most justice, but you can see his trident and the lightning bolts are pretty shiny. I just thought that looked really sweet in the foil. And you can see he has a keyword ability of Rush on here. And Rush basically means he can challenge as soon as he enters the battlefield. So much like other TCGs out there, most cards, unless they have a specific ability that says so, cannot do something like that on the first turn that they are played. So with the exception being if they have a keyword like Rush. And then you'll also see he has on here this Challenger +4. And that means that, his statistics right now, base, he's got 0 attack, which I find very strange for Zeus, but whatever. But he's got 0 for challenging and 4 for toughness. But so that what that means is, and I guess we should do an example because I didn't talk about that yet. Say my opponent had Rockstar Stitch and they had quested with Rockstar Stitch earlier. And so when you are making your decisions in the gameplay like this, which I think is very, very cool, you can't straight up challenge, aka attack. We're trying to get in the mindset of saying the right words for Lorcana. But you can't straight up challenge another opponent's character when they have not been exerted, like you can in other TCGs. Rather, when your opponent makes the decision to go for the lore, and like especially in this instance, like why would you not when you've got the ability to quest for 3 lore? Like that's huge. Most of the characters, like you quest for 1. And so like you're very slowly chipping away. So these ones that get up to 3 or more, there's a couple of them that have like 4. Like somebody's going to run away with the game real fast if you don't do something about it. So when they made the decision to quest for that lore and they've exerted, they've now made themselves vulnerable to being challenged, which I think is cool and it makes a lot of sense, right? Because you made a choice to expend all your energy going on your quest, which now leaves you open for somebody to challenge you. So that's where Zeus could come in, and now he's got this challenge +4. So if I decide to challenge Stitch instead of questing for 2 lore, Zeus then is going to fight, if you will, Stitch, and we're going to do damage to each other according to what our damage statistic is, which, like I said, this 0 looks like a whole lot of nothing, but he's got this challenge +4. So on a challenge action, he's actually a 4/4. So he would do 4 damage to Stitch but Stitch in terms would do 3 damage to Zeus. So pretty neat. Where if Zeus had quested for lore, and so he made himself vulnerable, because he is now exerted and he's not in the challenge stance, if Stitch came at him, he would do no damage back to Stitch because it is not his turn to challenge. So that is how that mechanic works. I think that is a pretty cool design element for that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Oh, okay, so I got a foil genie. He is pretty cool. And so he is another rare card, and I think the foil looks pretty slick on him. He's nice and shiny there. And you can see he is another toughie, and he is another example of a pretty high-end character that has that shift ability. So again, you could play lesser versions of Genie, and then when this one comes out, if you already had one out on the board, you could pay this less amount to shift him in, which is cool, or you could pay 8, which is brutal because that's really expensive, but he does quest for 3 lore. And he also has, is that the evasive keyword? I'm reading upside down. Yes. So that's a keyword that we had not talked about yet. And evasive is pretty cool because you can only characters that also have the evasive keyword can challenge a character with the evasive keyword. And let me tell you, it's tough. And the way these starter decks are built, I was playing the Aurora deck for the better part of the time because she's my favorite princess, just in case I've never said that. So I played her several times because I was just trying to get comfortable with what the cards said, get a little of that muscle memory down in terms of the way they played and what I needed to do. But oh my goodness, when you're playing against somebody that is running a deck that has several things in it with the evasive, it was tough. It was very tough because you can't get at anything. And so you are super relying on drawing an item or an action card that does some kind of direct damage to something that is not challenge related in order to get anything accomplished. So again, these are the cool things that you're going to have to take into account when you get into the deck building part of this game. Because if you build yourself exclusively a deck of awesome things that you love and no one has an evasive keyword, or you don't think to put in cannons or things, there's a card that says break that gets rid of, destroys an item, like things that have that direct interaction in it, the deck's not going to function really well. So things to think about. This I was very excited about. So again, because Sleeping Beauty is my favorite original Disney movie. This is the dragon version of Maleficent, and you can see this is a gold symbol down on the bottom, and this is a legendary, and so this is the second highest level of rarity for these cards. But you can see she is very expensive. She's a 9, but she is brutally strong. She's a 7/5. She also quests for 2 lore. And whenever you play this character, you can banish a chosen character. So her enter the battlefield effect is crazy. And if you can get enough ink out on the board to be able to pay for her, and somebody is clobbering you with something that you just have your deck is not built to deal with it, like this is a beautiful card to come in and just take that problem right off of the table for you. Not to mention she looks amazing because she is very cool. All right. Next up here, I have another legendary version, and this is Belle. She is a pretty highly sought after card. People have been pretty excited about her. And she is a 2/4. She only quests for 1 lore. And sorry, I'm struggling to read some of these things upside down. But you can see she's got her read a book ability and my favorite part. And they just, during your turn, you may put an additional card from your hand into your inkwell face down. So that is a super powerful ability, because if you have any way to generate resources for yourself faster than playing one per turn, if you choose to, you never have to ink anything on your turn. It does become a real choice, and especially later in the game when you have fewer cards in hand, if you don't have cards in your deck that allow you the ability to draw extra cards, or characters that have an ability that allow you to kind of do an extra thing, it's tough to want to bury cards that you have in your hand for resources when you don't really have a way to get any more cards. You draw one card per turn on your turn otherwise. So if you can get her out earlier in the game, and she only costs 4, so it's a relatively reasonable earlier-ish in the game play, the ability to kind of accelerate resources that you have available is huge. So that is pretty cool. And then last but not least, again, just in the interest of flavor, I wanted to be able to show you, they have the Three Musketeers in our classic Disney characters. And so we've got Mickey Musketeer, Goofy Musketeer, and Donald Musketeer. And they are very cool. And you can see they all have the bodyguard keyword. And so this is very cool because you can choose to exert this on its entry to the battlefield to make the opponent have to challenge your musketeer instead of somebody else that you have out on the board. So if you have had a card, let's use like Rockstar Stitch as an example, and if he's constantly questing for 3, and so your opponent now has made it a priority to challenge him to try to get rid of him, and like you see like he's close to being banished, you could play one of your musketeers, choose to have them come into the battlefield exerted, and therefore, if your opponent is going to challenge on this next move, they have to come at your musketeer because they've kind of thrown themselves in front of Stitch. So I think that is a very cool mechanic. And then you can see here, 2 of them are in the steel color, and Goofy is actually in the amber color. So again, totally, you have to choose the way that you want to play this game, and what characters you're passionate about. If it's less about characters and more about a certain type of game style that you prefer to play, are you a very aggressive player? And so you want to play as many like mean and nasty-ish kind of cards as you can. Are you a person that wants to be able to generate resources as fast as humanly possible, faster than your opponent, so that you could get some big, super cool thing out on the board, like earlier in the game, then that's the way that you're going to play a ramp deck of some kind to get those resources faster. It's the world's your oyster, and actually it's a blank page and your beautiful art to create with this. So let me know what you guys think. I cannot wait to talk to you guys more about this. It's going to be very fun exploring. The next set for the next chapter of Lorcana is set to come out in November. So it won't even be that long before we will get our next chapter and additional cards that we'll be able to get into it. I am very pumped for that. They're going to release 4 sets a year. And again, it's going to be the same argument's going to be there that is there for Magic, Pokemon, any of the other trading card games, in that it is to some degree a pay-to-play scenario, depending on how you want to play. If you are a casual gamer and you are going to play this at home with your families, you can play forever just with the cards that we have right here. Honestly, the initial expense of the 2 booster boxes and the 3 starting decks, somebody could be very content having just that and have a ton of fun with this game, for a long time. I am very excited about getting other characters and other versions of characters. And like I said, it's funny, if you're a Disney fan, and I think people are pretty much like this in general. Like, yes, we can agree we like all things Disney, but there's going to be things in Disney that are your jam, that are your favorite, you know. And as for me, I love Sleeping Beauty. So Aurora and Maleficent. Maleficent is my absolute favorite villain. So being able to build things with as many versions of Aurora and Maleficent and Goons and Raven and, you know, things like the fairies, like that is what I'm very excited about. I'm less excited about Lilo and Stitch because that wasn't something I was super passionate about before. Bill, super pumped about Jungle Book, and there's nothing for Jungle Book in the set yet that I have seen. I have to imagine we're going to see it in the next versions that are going to be coming out, so we're going to keep our eyes peeled for that. But yeah, we'll just have to see where it goes from here. But I, for one, am very excited and can't wait to play it some more. So thanks for hanging out with me today and exploring some Lorcana. Can't wait to talk about it more with you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to and follow our social media channels. We are at SITREP Podcast Other Realms on Facebook, as well as our YouTube channel. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, gotta get mine.